feel like different generations just don't get each other? Certified coach, licensed therapist, and speaker Tess Brigham tackles the generational challenges shaping our personal and professional lives on The Gen Mess with Tess. Listen in as Tess and experts around the globe provide insights and practical strategies to help you bridge the gap and thrive, no matter your generation. Now here's your host, Tess Brigham.
Hello and welcome to the Gen Mess with Tess. We're not just fixing the mess, we're figuring out how to live in it. I'm your host, Tess Brigham. So let's make sense of the mess together. So today on Gen Mess, I'm talking with Liz Helton, a career strategist and former PR exec who knows how to turn your real life experience into a clear, confident, professional story. Liz helps people at every stage to understand their skills, articulate their value, and show up with purpose, whether they're navigating transitions, networking, or stepping into new opportunities. So we're going to be diving into storytelling and branding and what it really takes to communicate who you are in today's workplace. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tess. I am really looking forward to our chat today.
Yes. And I realized in my intro, I did say career strategist at the beginning. So hopefully, tell me a little bit about, because I know you started in PR and I know you started in PR and branding, and then you made this pivot, which makes complete sense. I mean, your PR and branding background, it just, I assume it was like, okay, I'm just going to transfer these skills into helping people find work that they love.
You know, you're exactly right. That's kind of exactly what happened. I started my career in PR. I graduated in, straight into the recession. It was 2008, 2009 timeframe. And I didn't ask a lot of questions. I had a degree in journalism with a concentration in PR and was fortunate enough to very quickly find a job in my field. And never really took the time to assess what did that mean and what did the glitz and the glam of the idea of a career in PR mean to the reality of it. And I just, started working. It was the recession. There were so many people out of work. You didn't ask questions. You just really dug into it. And as I got further into my career, there were parts I loved. I loved the teams that I was working on and I loved the clients that I was getting to work alongside and to build stories and messaging and positioning. I did not love cold calling reporters about things like TV for dogs, and which was such a fun client. Do not get me wrong. I loved that client, but it was at that moment around the time that I started thinking about a family that I was really starting to actually ask myself, is my career in alignment with what I wanted for my life? And there were a lot of answers to that were no, right? And so I started, looking for a job. I was freelancing a little bit, and even in the best case of scenario of working from home with a young baby and being able to do it exactly the way I wanted to, I knew that there was something amiss, but I still loved storytelling. And in the process of my own job search and subsequently having other people come to me as the writer in the family saying, hey, can you look over my stuff? And a weird love I discovered for interviewing. I don't know what it is. I've always loved going into interview. There's like a thrill I get digging into research a company that I started saying, is there a need to help other people with this? And my best friend said, I know somebody who's kind of doing this thing. She just left our firm. She was a recruiter, and now she's starting to do this exactly what you're talking about. You should go talk to her. Which led to a conversation with my now colleague, Julia Holian, who had a year prior started a career development consultancy, and was really kind of thinking about wanting to bring on a writer. And so I was talking to her about my idea about wanting to be, at the time, it was just resume writing I was thinking about. And at the end of that conversation, she goes, Liz, do you want to work on your own, or do you want to work with a team? And we just celebrated our 8 years together. We've been working together ever since. It was the match made in heaven. Her, 20 years of recruiting combined with my, it was nearly 10 years of PR work at that time. And storytelling and branding and positioning made us kind of a whole picture operation. And now what we've built over the years is this firm that really is grounded in a full picture of helping professionals navigate the transformations of their career transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
and within that scope, I focus on the writing segment of our business. So branding, storytelling, LinkedIn. And then I also oversee our early career professionals segment. So I work with those that are, 0 to 10, 12-ish years of experience and trying to figure out how to launch their own careers so that they don't do what I did and hitchhike their way into their first chapter and find themselves spending, years and years doing things that are unfulfilling and unaligned. And also just to build a program around answering the questions that so many young professionals have of how do I even job search? How
Mm-hmm.
do I look for a job? How do I align this degree that I have with what I actually want to do? And I'm sure you and I will get into today around how much value Gen Z places on that fulfillment factor, right? And being
Yes.
able to align all of those elements.
Yes. And the company is Career Transformation Partners. I'm sorry, I
Yes.
realized you said it very quickly and I realized I didn't
I
say
did say it really quickly. Yeah. Career Transformation
Career
Partners. Yes.
Transformation Partners.
Yeah. So we're
Um,
based here in the Bay Area and we do everything. It's mostly tactical things to support professionals in
mhm,
career transitions. So, most 90% or so of our clients are job seekers.
mhm.
And so we focus in helping navigate those transitions.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about job searching in the last 8 years that you and Julie have been working together. What has been the biggest thing that you're like, I can't believe this is where we're at? Biggest sort of shocker, I
The
guess.
biggest shocker, I think it's changed so much. But the thing that I will always tell people is that when I first started this job, I would say, plan for like a 3 to 4 month job search.
Mm,
And what most people don't realize is now I tell people, like, be prepared that it could take you upwards or over a year to
yeah.
in this search.
Hmm.
And that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
It gives me palpitations when I have to say it, let
Hmm.
alone for the client who a lot of times are not coming to us on day one of a job search. They're
Yeah.
coming to us when they've already been in it and for them to say, wait, do I have to start my clock all over again? How do I do this? And the
Hmm.
big thing that has evolved over the last 8 years is the shift in technology, the way that both applicants and companies are posting and are sharing and are leveraging technologies like AI.
Hmm.
It is speeding up the process, making it inevitably more complicated and frustrating on both sides.
Hmm.
Recruiters are struggling because they are inundated with hundreds of applications per posting, and applicants are frustrated because they feel like they're shouting into a void. And there
Hmm.
really is a huge disconnect on both sides. And so what we really advocate for is, and this has been true all along, but it's more true now than ever, is taking a networking focused approach and focusing more on the human side first and foremost versus what I would call a click and submit approach
Hmm.
of that LinkedIn easy apply. And that is going to be what leaves you feeling like you're in a dark corner in a room with no windows
Hmm.
and just shouting into a bunch of nothingness.
Yeah.
Um, and
Can
it's
I ask a
Go ahead.
sorry. I just want to ask a question about the I agree with you that about, it may take a year. Do you think that's for everybody at every level?
No, I don't. I think it's a very individualized piece. And what I will often tell clients is, no, you're not restarting your clock, but we are evolving it to give you the right assets.
Hmm.
It's going to change depending on one, your seniority level. It's going to change based on the industry you're
Hmm.
targeting. There's certain segments like tech for example, right now is, laying off in mass in
Yeah.
droves. Entertainment is
Yeah.
also doing the same. These are all industries that are a bit turbulent right now, where there's other industries that are starved for people and are just
Mm.
begging people to come and join their forces. We still have a shortage of nurses in this country, and we still have, you know, a shortage of teachers and educators. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really dependent on industry and focus. So that's not a blanket number by any means, but it is a reality that based on the volume of applicants,
Mm-hmm.
it don't expect it to be a short process. Set yourself up for success and thinking like, I need to prepare to be in this for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, I was asking because I was wondering, is that true for Gen Z as well when you're just starting your career? But I guess
It
if you're
can
five,
be.
6 years in, I
Well,
mean,
and what I will say is um what I'll say on that is that it it's going to depend on the young professional. You know, if you're coming right out of school and you don't even think about a job search, you don't create your LinkedIn profile until after graduation, like
mm-hmm,
you're already behind the ball, right? Like you
mm-hmm,
need to and the process for an early career professional, somebody just entering the workforce, the work that they've done that they don't even realize that they're doing before they even start hitting submit is what we would consider part of that search, right? The building
mm-hmm,
the profile, the networking, the the conversing. They're thinking for 4 years plus about that first job, right? So
mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
starting line is a bit vague when it comes to somebody that's just starting their career for the first time. But if they are intentionally sitting down for the first, like, truly, and thinking, okay, now I'm going to go and look at job applications, it can take a while because
Mm-hmm,
you've got to learn how to build up your rapport for how you talk about yourself.
mm-hmm,
That interview strategy, it's incredibly rare for somebody to just do the book thing for 4 years,
mm.
and then to sit down and land a job the next day,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
about all of those quiet things you do before you start looking at those formal applications that is going to really help navigate that job search process for a young professional.
So funny when you talk about this because I didn't realize it at the time, but because my first career was in entertainment and it's such a tough thing to get into, tough to maintain all of that, that I had been mentally preparing and doing, internships and meeting people and doing so. When I graduated, I got a job pretty easily. And then I got another job very easily. And then another job very easily in entertainment. It wasn't until I left entertainment that I had to sort of figure out not only what am I going to do with my life, but also I had to figure out how to interview again. Because
Yeah.
as strange as it sounds, there was something like, because I had all of this stuff on my resume, it was just easy for me to get jobs. I looked very appealing to people and I was young and, oh my God, you've done all this work before you even graduated and blah, blah, blah. And so it was just, I got very used to just not really having to sell myself. And so it was very weird and awkward when I realized, oh, I have to sell myself to
It's a
you.
marketing
This,
practice. It is
yes.
absolutely a practice in how you are branding yourself and communicating. And I imagine that you, in that entertainment environment, some of it was maybe networking versus the
Mm-hmm.
like digging through roles and knowing people and people having
Mm-hmm.
an initial impression of you already, but also a confidence level of
Mm-hmm.
knowing your craft and knowing what you were stepping into and not having a imposter syndrome mentality that can be, you know, prevalent in a new environment, or
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, okay, what is, you had a level of expertise already
Yeah.
walking into an entertainment room, whereas in a new environment, like, the room feels a little bit different.
Yeah.
You're not used to that pond just yet, so to speak.
No, it makes that actually makes a lot of sense. So what do you say to your recent college graduates, or they're on their second job and they do have a lot of that imposter syndrome? How do you help them?
So what the thing I will always recommend when someone is going through that feeling of imposter syndrome of can I do it? Am I ready to do it? Am I actually as capable as on paper I should be able to say that I am? Is to
Mm,
be going back and talking to those that can also support that validation. Is that networking piece is so helpful, not just from a, hey, do you have an opportunity that you can link me up to, but for
mhm,
that confidence level of that reminder of, and some, external validation is not a bad thing. When you're trying to
No.
seek it, if you can't find it from within, find a cheerleader that
Mm-hmm.
can, right? That knows you and knows your value, somebody who you have worked with in the past. For those just starting their career, a professor that you were particularly close with,
Mm-hmm.
as an example, that you can use as a point of, yes, as a reference, right? But to just,
Yeah.
go to coffee and to pick their brain and ask, like, I'm putting myself forward for this job. These are the things I know they're looking for. If somebody called you today to speak on my strengths, what would you tell them? Right? What
Mm-hmm.
are the things that you see, right? Because sometimes that external validation can be incredibly helpful, but to keep track of those successes that you have along the way, for those just starting in their career, those that are even pre-starting their career, still in college or still coming into their own in the earliest years of their career, keeping track of your successes is the most critical thing you could do. A little folder of a brag book is the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing you can do to
Oh
help
yeah.
future you navigate a potential opportunity. Because
Mm-hmm.
I work with everybody entry to C-suite, and I will work with manager, director, VP level professionals that they come to me and they're like, but I never kept track of this, Liz. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
articulate my strengths. Like, this is not a novel thing just for an early career professional, but for somebody who can start their career and be able to keep track of that information. And it can come in all forms of like I don't know, a pitch deck, a results sheet of here's how we navigated this project, annual reviews, a nice email from a superior that says, atta girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, keep just a general file to reflect on from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to
Yeah.
remind yourself.
Yeah. No, I recommend that to clients all the time to boost confidence. And the other thing too is, and I have things here on my desk, cards that I've gotten from former clients where you have these rough days yourself of like, what am I doing? What's happening here? What
Yes.
I can't figure this out. And then I'll just pick up, I'm like, okay, let me read the note. And it's just like, no, I do know what I'm doing. Like, this isn't,
Oh my
because
goodness.
it's very easy, especially if you've had a lot of rejection over and over and over again, to forget. It's
Yes.
very easy to just sort of forget everything when you have these rejections. That becomes the story. And rejections are far more powerful than acceptances.
Oh,
There's
100%. And when you're in a job search, you're going to have more rejection
yes.
than success, and that gets
Hmm.
heavy. And we find that so many job seekers are discovering what the feeling of depression is,
Hmm.
and that there is a heaviness that comes with a job search or with a job loss. I like to
Hmm.
articulate to clients of, like, this is like a breakup. If you've lost a
Yeah.
job, this is like a breakup. You spend the majority of your week at work, and if you have severed ties one way or the other, you're going to go through those 7 stages of grief in that
Hmm.
process. And when you are in a job search, it is like dating. It
Yeah.
truly is. You are courting this company, they're courting you. You're trying to see if there's a good fit, and it's exhausting. It's
Hmm. Yeah.
absolutely exhausting. And the best thing you can do is to not just stare into a screen for 40 hours a week trying to click on as many applications as you can. This is why we will always say is get out, talk to people.
Hmm.
As uncomfortable as networking can feel, it's the best thing that you can do. It can also help you feel like you get your groove back a little bit to go and have a conversation, and to just be, talking as a professional,
Hmm.
and being in rooms with other professionals. There is
Yes.
an energy that can come with that, and that is true for any job seeker, but in particular for the early career professional, the young professional that is still feeling unsure, is to put
Hmm.
themselves in that position of some momentary discomfort, but the more you do it, the more confident you're going to feel.
Yes. And
And
and it's going to be your whole career. It's
oh
going
yeah,
to be your whole career, your whole life. I mean, having kids, you've got to network with other parents. You got to
Oh
like,
my
what
gosh.
do you do? Where do you go? I mean, you have to learn how to like have these relationships with them. And yeah, you will be doing this forever,
And
forever
in
and ever and
every environment,
ever.
everything is uncomfortable when you try it the
Yes.
first. And it's almost like there is a little timer on how much time you have to spend on something before you're no longer in that discomfort of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that timer is
Yeah.
different for everybody. There is no exact finite amount of time, but
Yeah.
practice makes perfect for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I consider myself an extrovert. I've networked a ton, and I still, right before a call, will get a little bit like, okay, that same sort of feeling of, all right, because it is a new person. It is challenging. Anything new is always going to be challenging. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
because it's new.
Well, and I
So,
consider myself I'm an introvert through and through.
mhm.
Most people are really surprised to know this about me because I can talk to anybody for any length of time. I'm, as my son would like to call, a yapper.
Mm,
But at the end of that conversation, at the end of that engagement, I am I am done.
yeah.
Like I am like ready to go internal, like just like I need Netflix and chill, like
Yeah.
put it down. But there's something, and it's been a practiced thing for me to be able to go and feel like, yes, I can go and hold that conversation and not sit in an amount of social anxiety around what are they thinking, and then
Hmm.
reanalyzing that conversation after the fact, and like getting over the fact that nobody is thinking about me as much as I think they're thinking about me, and that's why
Yeah.
I have to be out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing about networking is, you've got to really go into it with this idea of I'm not looking for anything. If you go in there, you want to network people with people that are in your industry, and you want to ask them questions, and maybe there is a position. But if you walk in with like I have to impress this person, I have to impress this person, or I have to bedazzle this person, it's just too much. It seems like you disagree, but isn't it? Because I would think it's got to start with them getting to know who you are as a human
Yes, and
being.
is where I'm
Yes,
going to
and
go with
okay,
this.
what's the
Yes,
and?
and I do think that when you are networking, you need to bring a level of authenticity
Hmm.
to the conversation. And for a job seeker who is networking and taking an approach focused on meeting people, growing their network, uncovering opportunities,
Hmm.
because historically up to 80% of jobs are filled through networking.
Yeah.
And so, but to do that, you do need to bring your authentic self to it. But there is a strategy for making sure that you do more than just meet a cool person, right?
Hmm.
And what I will always tell clients is the work you do before an informational meeting or a networking conversation and the work you do after are as critical, if not more, than what goes on in that conversation itself. Because the work you do before is going to help you ask better questions, is
Mm.
going to help you walk in having an awareness of this person, a baseline of what their bio is. So you don't spend, 15 of your 30 minutes just saying, hey, tell me about yourself. Right.
Hmm.
But being strategic enough to go in and know, okay, this is who I'm going in to talk to, and
Hmm.
and being able to build out a strategic conversation around that. Now, when you're
Hmm.
going into an event where you're in a room full of people to network with and you don't know who you're meeting, being able to bring yourself to the table and to be able to confidently talk about what you're pursuing, that's where that strategy comes in. And what I imagine you're talking about, of being able to just truly have an authentic conversation where somebody wants to continue it into a
Hmm.
more structured, opportunity based
Hmm.
meeting, that's where that's going to come in.
Yeah. Well, I think the best piece of networking advice I ever got or read somewhere was, walking into it with how can you help other people, right?
Yes,
With this idea of how can,
100%.
what can I help you with? Who do you, is there a way for me to help you? And I know it's hard if you're young, you're like, I don't, I'm going to offer help, but you never know. And and I've seen it time and again where people will go, oh, you know what, I actually do need something. And there is something that, and that builds a relationship. Um, when you've done a favor for someone, people do feel right? That's the
Absolutely.
psychology of it. They do feel that. But the other thing too is inevitably they're going to ask you the same thing. They're
Oh,
going to ask you,
absolutely.
what can I do for you? And so I just thought it's such a nice way of doing it, because I had had a hard time selling myself, and also had a hard time kind of going in being like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing,
Yes. Yeah.
so this sort of created this relationship from the start of, okay, this isn't one way.
And quite frankly, for somebody who's apprehensive about networking,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to walk into a conversation with a sense of curiosity, that gets you talking about them and not about
Mm-hmm.
yourself. A
Yes.
lot of people hate talking about themselves. And so to be able to go in and to center the conversation around the other party, and to be able to then insert yourself strategically in that way, versus just saying, hi, my name is so and so, I have a background in blah blah blah, which turns out that's exactly what they're hearing, is the
Mm-hmm.
Snoopy, the Charlie Brown,
Yeah.
it's to be able to center the conversation with a mentality of giving
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a 10 out of 10 best approach. I 1,000% agree. And
Yeah.
that's why, the preparation ahead of time, if you're meeting with somebody intentionally
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one, that preparation ahead of time is going to help you center those questions, versus just like, hey, tell me about you.
Mm. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about AI, because this has been the biggest, biggest issue. And this is, I think, a fear of AI is going to take everyone's jobs. AI is going to do this. AI is going to do that. So how do you speak to your clients about AI, and what role should they have? I mean, should they be learning AI? What should they be doing when it comes to AI?
So, one, AI isn't going anywhere. And I
Mm.
get it, especially for Gen Zs who didn't go to college with AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've now graduated, and all of a sudden they have to learn an entirely new skill set, or are being told they need to use this skill set that they were explicitly told not to use at
Yeah.
university. It feels like whiplash. I
Mm-hmm.
so desperately relate to this as a millennial who I didn't go to college with this thing in my hand.
Yeah.
I had a Razor flip phone, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
graduate, and all of a sudden there's this whole world where everything is now mobile, and your job is now changing because technology is at the tip of our fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It the biggest thing I tell all my clients is, you've got to educate yourself. It is the number one most needed skill. It's the number one most sought after skill. AI is not going to, it's not taking jobs. People who know AI are taking jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is changing the way we work. It's rewriting the script on the way we work. It is going to change the skill sets that are needed, particularly with entry level individuals. I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to an attorney a couple months ago who already was saying, when we hire at our staff level or associate level, we're already looking for a different skill set, because I have AI systems that can now read a contract, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
have an AI system that can connect with clients, right? So
Mm.
they're already
Mhm.
shifting the way they are hiring based on the skills that are needed, right? So really, there's things that AI are never going to be able to replace. So
Yes.
it's twofold. It's being able to know the skills and that are the AI fundamentals that are critical for your field, and then two, knowing how you're an asset beyond that,
Mm. Mhm.
and being able to really build and to see the workforce and understand the challenges an organization has around building its AI best practices, and being able to, one, utilize them, and two, add to them.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so,
Well,
and
and
when it
I
comes to a job search,
Mhm.
it's they're using it on their side. We've got to utilize it too. Like, the job
So,
seekers need to utilize it too.
but as you're a storyteller, and I work with this writing coach who is very much, he and I keep arguing with him about AI, about a little bit of, because he is, what he wants me to do is everything is from my own mind, from my own brain, like write everything down. It's my own words. And I do understand the importance of that. And I don't think that, but what I've also found I mainly just use ChatGPT. And what I found is it really knows me. So when I plug in my crazy ideas in my brain that kind of don't make a lot of sense, but I have a lot of them, and I start typing them out into this machine, it spits the stuff back and it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this over here, but not this. Okay, move this. I think for some, I don't know. I know that there is worry that we're not teaching young people critical thinking skills. And that's one piece, is this taking that away from taking, but I guess I wonder for you, what's your thought on it? Do you feel like
I love that you talked about the idea that it is taking away critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen that it has given me more capacity to think critically about things, because as I'm writing a resume, for example, it is no longer me banging my head against the keyboard around, how do I say this exact thing? Like, I'm trying to say this one little, like, how do I get these words into this sentence? And it's more about being able to let it do some of the more administrative parts, right?
Yes.
And for me to then be able to ask better questions of it, and for it to serve as kind of a thought partner, right? In this process, and to help me see where my gaps are, right? The biggest thing about AI is that it is a predictive model that is only trying to guess the next letter that you want it to say, right? So if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, right? And when it comes to how to leverage it for a job search or for posting on LinkedIn or any kind of writing, one, it needs to know your voice. Right? So the best thing that we do is, I will take full conversations and I will ask it to recap what is going on in that conversation, right? To help me to like go back through, understand a tone of voice, to understand, what were the big themes that consistently came up throughout a call, right? And then to look at the full scope of what a conversation was, and then to be able to go back through and for me to use that as a baseline to go forward. For somebody that's trying to write on LinkedIn, for example, I will say, don't have it write your posts full stop. Have it ask you questions. Let it get to know who your audience is, who the people that you're trying to reach, and then to have it feed it the information of, these are the topics that I cover. This is the thing that, give me 10 questions that I can respond to. Have it give you the prompts. Have it interview you, right?
Yes.
And then go from there. So to not use it as a replacement for you, but to let it lets you think differently than you would have before, versus just trying to write one single sentence.
Oh, yes. I mean, I use it I like it because I use it as a thought partner, especially if you work by yourself. And now we're all working remotely. It does help. And the administrative stuff that would drive me crazy is someone would want me to write something about boundaries. And it's like, oh God, I have like 15 different things, about boundaries. And, now it's like, oh, great. You just feed it all into this machine. Yeah. So it's all my writing. It's all my thoughts, but it's, exactly. Someone's just going to organize it for you. And it's like, I know I've learned that already. I know how to do that. And I'm tired. I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, and you have
right. And I don't have to.
You need to do.
Yes.
And now you get to do that. And it truly is giving us the ability to think deeper on a topic. I will say that since I have started incorporating the use of AI into our writing practices, I will get our first drafts are of higher quality and are better aligned with our clients' voices, our client, like what we are trying to articulate in a first pass. And then we go through with our human eyes and can move things around and look at things. And yes, you do have to think about AI really loves some parallelism in creating a ton of lists and long sentences and into the structure of a writing. And gosh, don't get me started on an M dash, because I really hate that ChatGPT has killed the M dash for me, because everybody sees it and
and assumes it's AI.
Yeah, which it isn't always, but it honestly, like ChatGPT, she loves an M dash, and you have to like really work with your system to get a human voice in there. But it serves as a great baseline, and it serves as a way to get out of your own head and out of your own way in a lot of capacities.
Yeah. So what do you think are, because you work with people of all ages, all generations. So what have you noticed the difference between maybe Gen Z and millennials and Gen X in terms of how they approach career building?
So I love Gen Z's approach to career building. Quite frankly, Gen Z places so much value on value, right? And this is a generation, this is the first generation to be inherently tech native, right? Millennials grew up very similarly to Gen X, and in terms of, as an elder millennial, we played until the lights were out. We didn't, I remember when the internet came into my house, so in a lot of ways, there's some similarities there, but, Gen Z has taken a more sure-footed approach. Their world is so much bigger than any of ours were at an early age. We saw our lane, and we were formed around the lane we saw. They have been brought up with this thing in their hand where they can see all the lanes. So they have such a more global perspective to careers, to everything. So that inherently is going to give them more awareness in the decisions that they're making. And they've learned at an earlier age how to advocate for themselves. By and large, Gen Z were raised by Gen Xers who are pretty no gruff, like there's no muss, no fuss, no coconuts, right? Where like there's been a lot of like they've had Gen Z's pretty straightforward as a result, right? And I do think that has created an early career segment and they take up already 18% of the workforce.
Yes, they have surpassed boomers
who are now at 13%.
Yeah.
And us millennials and Gen Xers are just we're right there in the middle, But Gen Z, they're going to change the workforce for the better so much. They are going to create a corporate America in particular that is significantly more self-aware, because they will ask the questions. They will push back. Whereas millennials, we are just a bunch of anxious little rabbits in a lot of cases, because we grew up with this idealistic view of what the world is. And then that rug was pulled out from us real fast when it literally turned on a dime. And for Gen Xers, they were working when that was all turning on a dime, right? Yeah. So they've had to slog through it, right?
Well, and we weren't given, we weren't given this idealized. No. Right. Because we were raised by, the silent generation boomers primarily, who were raised by parents that were, because my grandparents were, around for the what's the recession in the 30s? The
Great Depression.
I can't even remember. What? The Great Depression. Thank you. I couldn't even remember the name. We've had so many now. But yeah, so you have people today, I think that what I see with people my own age and the kids that we're raising is that reaction to how there wasn't a lot of, thought put into things. There wasn't a lot of like, I'm going to really figure out how to phrase this to say this to you in a kinder way. And I think that we have really responded to that. Like, the way I raise my son is so different than the way my parents raised me in many ways. Not the values part, but the part about just, take your time to do things. Don't, you don't have to figure it all out today. There wasn't a lot. It was a lot of like, buck up, buckaroo. And that was how I was raised. And so with my son, it's like, I think we're all consciously choosing not to have that. But what I think is so funny is when I get these comments from Gen Xers complaining about Gen Zers.
Like, wait, you did?
But
And
yeah,
the
it's
same
like,
with us boomers that say the same
yes,
thing
and
about
the
millennials.
millennials, it was the same exact situation.
And it
But
turns out that they're like the elder generations seeing the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed come into the workforce, there's always going to be some like jadedness and skepticism. I truly believe of like, why are you doing it that way? Well, the world's a lot different. The world is a lot different. And I think that the beauty of Gen Z is that this is also the first generation that wasn't really taught that if you go to college, it's all going to be okay.
yes,
You know,
that was a
that
big
there
one.
is a level of understanding that, yes, that is a stop in the game of life. It's one path, but it's not a guaranteed path, where we were still taught, go to college and the American dream is yours. That's a reality that certainly is not the case for the majority of millennials and for many Gen Xers.
Yeah. And that's of course always the problem, right? Which is that was boomers' experience. That was boomers' experience, right? To get a college education, you maybe go to grad school and there you go. There's your ta-da.
And it's not to
There's
say that it
everything.
wasn't hard for boomers. I saw something about like the median income for boomers versus like today's like millennial family. Like, boomers were still like hurting. Like, they would still have to really think about that last $200 a month, whereas like millennials, Gen Z, the people that are trying to own a home now are going to think about the last couple $1,000s a month and how that's going to go around, right? And so it's not to say that from their perspective it wasn't hard. So when a boomer does say like it was so tough back in my, yeah, it was. It hasn't gotten easier though.
Yeah. So what's I'm going to wrap up with, what is one piece of advice for someone who is feeling stuck or unsure about their career path, regardless of age, that you would say this is the one thing that you need to know?
That is a very broad question. And I think there's a lot of different ways that it can be answered. But for somebody who's maybe saying, I don't know how to find that that this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, is that there are a lot of ways to feel fulfilled in life. And not everybody is going to be a live to work person. There are live to work people for sure, but there are also work to live people. And it is okay to be closer on the ladder's end of the spectrum, but to really be thinking about how you want to build your life, and to be thinking about the things that you bring into this world, and to look at where are your strengths already and how can you be utilizing those in a way that is going to support what you want out of your life, whether that is career-based or life-based, right? We all have strengths as we walk through this world, things that we do that feel like breathing. And it's to find those things that just feel like breathing. One of the most common things people will say to me are, well, I don't have any superpowers. I don't have anything. Like, I just do my job. I just do that. Turns out those things that just feel like I just do that, there's something there. There is something under the hood there that is going to unlock that that is your superpower. Because I promise you, not everybody around you is feeling like that's just something that they do.
Yes.
It's to find those things that feel like breathing.
No, I love that. And yes, it was a broad question, but I love that you picked the angle that you did, because that's one that I get a lot, which is people will come to me. I have to say, like, people come to me probably before they come to you, right? And when they are asking themselves that question of, I really don't like my job or the career path I picked, I just don't know where to go. And that feeling of, I'm not happy here, but I don't know what direction to move in is really, it's very challenging. It really is. And so a lot of what you're saying is it's really about learning how to sit in that in-between place and find your confidence, not from the job, but from, not from your career, not from your job, but in other places,
Oh,
which I love about Gen Z because they're much more geared to that for
yes,
sure.
yeah. And to be
Yeah.
really, to think about, yes, there's 1,000 tactical things that you can do in a job search. I am here to help with all of those tactical
Yes.
things. The building the resume, the networking, the LinkedIn, the interviewing, all of those things, right? Whatever your next job is needs to be stepped into with intention of knowing either this is going to put me on course toward that dream job, that thing I know I want to do, or it's going to help me answer questions.
Yes.
It's going to help chip away and give me some idea about, am I moving in the right direction? Is this something I want to do more of, or that I would happily delegate to anybody else?
Well, thank you so much for being here. So tell us how people can find you, all that good stuff. Anything you want to promote?
Definitely. So you can find me at careertransformationpartners.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Liz Helton. And we are based, here in the Bay Area. We meet with our clients virtually. So anywhere around the country, you could come find us. We also host a monthly webinar session. We actually are hosting one. It's the first Friday of every month. We cover a different topic every single month. This month we're talking about LinkedIn. And you can find that on our website at careertransformationpartners.com/justaskjulia. And that is free, open to all. It's an hour-long conversation. We do a half hour of content, and then we do some Q&A afterwards. So it's a great way to just get some more free career resources and come hang out with us a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's a great thing that you and Julia are doing, helping, just answering those questions. People feel so lost and alone. So that's amazing. So, and thank you so much for listening to the Gen Mess with Tess. Remember, we're not just fixing the mess, we're learning how to live in it. Stay curious, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Gen Mess with Tess with your host, Tess Brigham. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to follow Tess Brigham on all social channels. To learn more about Tess's books, courses, or to have Tess speak to help clean up the Gen Mess at your organization, head on over to tessbrigham.com. Thanks for listening.